Hello, my name is Barb Mundell. I'm a civil engineer with the City of St. Paul Public Works Department. Today, we're going to talk about a Wheelock-Grotto reconstruction phase 2. We'll cover scope and scheduling, design, construction assessments, and finish up with contact information. So the scope and schedule. So as you know, phase 1 of the Wheelock-Grotto reconstruction project is well underway. That's the area shown in blue here. The areas shown in gold and green are for the phase 2 reconstruction project, and that will be in the summer of 2026. Here's a map showing just phase 2. The solid lines are reconstruction, total reconstruction. The dashed lines are streets that have been reconstructed in the past and will be milled and overlaid as part of this project. Some schedule information. Last June in 2024, we did send out a notice to the neighborhood saying, hey, this is coming. This virtual presentation will be posted on the website on October 1st. We'll have an in-person open house on October 23rd, and that will be at the Northdale Recreation Center. After that October 23rd meeting, we'll have virtual office hours on November 6th after everyone's had a chance to view either one of the presentations. And that open house will be to answer any additional questions. There is a public hearing scheduled in front of the City Council on December 10th. Another opportunity to express opinions before the City Council. And this is not design details. This is just approving the funding so the project can go forward. I am happy to meet with individual property owners by appointment, and that can be ongoing throughout the winter and spring. Just give me a call and with your questions. We do plan to open bids February of 2026, and then lead water service replacement by the St. Paul Regional Water Services should begin in early spring around April. And then the street reconstruction will follow those lead service replacements. And that will be around May. Of course, all of this part is weather dependent. The average street on this Wheelock-Grotto area varies between 28 feet wide to 32 feet wide in 60-foot right-of-ways. Most streets have sidewalks on both sides. The new roadway will essentially be the same width as the existing widths. The caveat to that is sometimes boulevards without curbs tend to erode and makes the street appear much wider, but we will put the street back as it's platted. East Como Boulevard is an exception that varies between 24 feet wide and 28 feet wide. Does have a sidewalk on the east side. We're still looking at the appropriate width. It won't be narrower than 24 and it won't be wider than 28. And we will be replacing that sidewalk on the east side. Some of the existing conditions out there, there's a lot of retaining walls that are in various conditions. Most of them are on private property, and we will not be touching your retaining wall. There's a few that maybe are over into the right of way. Again, we will try not to touch those. But the city will ask you to take out a no-fee encroachment permit to document that the wall is on city right-of-way. There's a lot of carriage walks out in this neighborhood. Those are the sidewalks, the little sidewalks that run parallel to the roadway. Those will be taken out when we install curb, and the city does not replace those. Um, the outwalks are the walks that go perpendicular to the roadway, and some of them have steps. We will try to regrade the street so that those steps are not necessary. That's something we're still working on. Um, but we will try and eliminate the need for boulevard steps where possible. Some uh, proposed improvements will be new curb and gutter, new roadway pavement, a lot of utility upgrades, sidewalk replacement, and then some new sidewalks where none exist, uh, ADA compliant ped ramps, lantern style street lighting, and tree planting at the end. Uh, the St. Paul City Council did pass a sidewalk policy back in 2017, recommending sidewalks on both sides of an improved street. There's only a couple of blocks that don't have sidewalk, and we are still looking at survey data to assess the feasibility of putting sidewalks on both sides. If we do put sidewalks in, we will try to locate them as recommended by St. Paul Forestry to minimize impact to trees. Some other improvements is bicycle boulevard striping, or markers, I should say, on East Como Boulevard. This is not like bike lanes. It's simply the bike boulevard symbols on the pavement, reminding people to share the road for this connection that goes from Milton to the trail on East Como Lake Drive. We are proposing a slight change to the median on East Como Boulevard at the intersection of Lakeview, and that is to try and make a safer crossing for bicycles and pedestrians to get again onto that trail. We will be replacing curb and gutter, or installing curb and gutter, and replacing all of the drainage structures along with that. We will be replacing the street pavement. Again, replacing the pedestrian ramps with ADA compliant pedestrian ramps. We will be replacing driveway aprons with concrete, and that is regardless whether you have a gravel driveway apron or whether it's brick or some other special material. All of them will be replaced with a concrete driveway. We will be replacing the wood pole street lighting with the lantern style street lighting. We will be taking measures to deter wire theft from this from new street lights. Trees, there's a lot of mature trees that are in the neighborhood. Some of them are pretty close to where the new curb is going to be. We will have St. Paul Forestry assess the impacts of new curb on these trees. There's also a lot of other potential impacts to trees. There's, if you opt to have your sewer service replaced or lead water service replacement or other utility conflicts could impact trees. There's the overall tree health that is taken into account, and then proximity to curb or other concrete hard surfaces. A lot of the trees that we took down on phase 1 were rotting and decaying on the inside. They looked fine on the outside, but they were hollow on the inside. So again, we work very closely with forestry to assess tree health and determine which trees need to be taken down and which ones can survive construction. At the end of the project, we will be replacing trees and planting new trees. Here's an example of the palette of species that the city plants. These species, they try and not have a monoculture, so they vary the trees even within a block, and tree species selection will be determined by St. Paul Parks and Forestry. One of the other amenities the project can provide is the City of St. Paul is partnering with Capital Region Watershed District to offer an opportunity for residents to have boulevard rain gardens. These are the gardens. They take stormwater runoff and filter it through a garden in the boulevard before any of that water is dumped back into Como Lake. So for more information about Boulevard Rain Gardens, you can contact Chris Kuzak at Capital Region Watershed District, and he can assess the feasibility of a rain garden at your property. All right, we've talked a lot about surface amenities, and that's really just the tip of the iceberg. There will be a lot of utility improvements with this project. Not only is the city utilities, but their private utilities often take this opportunity to upgrade their facilities. A lot of like Excel Communications, Excel Gas, and other, Comcast, CenturyLink, other communication companies will also upgrade their facilities with these projects. And then, of course, St. Paul Regional Water Service and St. Paul Sewers will also be upgrading their facilities. So with this project, we'll be replacing water main. It's usually about 8 to 10 feet deep, so there'll be some pretty deep holes out there. The water main is replaced by our paving contractor under the supervision of St. Paul Regional Water. And then even after the water main is installed, there are lots of tests that have to happen before that water main is put into service. So in the meantime, the city or St. Paul Regional Water will be providing temporary water mains. These are the yellow pipes that you see on the sidewalk. And those will be installed and then fully bacterial tested before they hook them up. So the water department will need to access your home to hook up to the temporary water mains. That will happen, prior to the project. They want to note that sometimes, and if it's really hot out, that the water from the temporary mains might be warm. Just run it, and it'll cool down pretty rapidly. And then the other thing to note is that you will not be metered for water during construction when you're connected to temporary water. And then here's just how they backfeed the temporary water into your home. They'll use a Y installed where your garden hose is connected. Again, they will need to get into your house, so they will notify you and make arrangements prior to connecting, obviously. They will, after the new water main is installed, they'll reconnect to the main once that's been fully tested and deemed safe. They will oh, sorry. Most existing copper services are reconnected with only excavation at the water main, but if they're lead services, they'll be replaced with copper, and that is at no cost to the property owner. St. Paul Regional Water will cover that cost, and then just there is also a program, lead free, for lead services in private property to be replaced by St. Paul Regional Water at no cost to the homeowner. And for more information about water services or water mains, you can contact Bokenya Chun. She is an engineer with St. Paul Regional Water Service. And also, as part of this project, there'll be a lot of sewer work. We will be replacing some storm sewer mains and some sanitary mains. We are also providing an opportunity for homeowners to replace their sewer service from the main to the property line. So to back up a little bit, the sewer services are fully owned by the property owner. But there are two sections. There is the section in the public right of way, and that's the one shown here in red, and that is the one that can be replaced as part of this project. There is an additional assessment for that work. And then there is also the private side between the property line and the home, and that work would need to be done by a private contractor that would be hired by the property owner. Again, just another visual of your private sanitary sewer service. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms from your water service, like slow drains, sewer odors, sinkholes, it could be time to replace your water service, or I'm sorry, sewer service. Some common problems that we see is tree root intrusion into the sewer service. And then another common problem is that the connection between the sewer main and the sewer service can sometimes drop. And those are also good reasons to replace your sewer service as part of the project. Some benefits of doing that during construction is that you don't have to pay for the street reconstruction or the street restoration. And it's at a fixed rate, and you can, when it's an assessment like that, you can pay it over 20 years. And here's some typical costs. Usually during construction, the cost, because it's at a fixed rate, is approximately around $3,500. But if you wait until after construction, with including the restoration costs, it can be up to $5,000 or more. All right. Oh, and just to back up on sewer service replacement, the sewer department will be sending out waiver forms this winter with more explanation and more information about your individual sewer service, and just explaining that process a little bit more. And then the sewer waiver would be sent back to them, and then we can put it on the plans for reconstruction. What's it like to live through a construction project? Well, many of you are experiencing adjacently that right now. As you know, it's noisy and inconvenient. It's either dusty or muddy. We do have specifications stating that the contractor needs to wet the surface to try and control dust, mud, and sweep up mud as they can. But it's a constant battle. Some other things to know: your street will be dug up numerous times, and that is because there are different contractors doing different types of work. A private utility might dig up your street to replace the communication line, and then 2 weeks later, somebody else is going to dig it up to replace your sewer service or lead water service. That there is a method to the madness, that, but it does happen, that there will be multiple excavations on the same street sequentially. plan on 4 to 5 months of disruption for the entire project. That doesn't mean 4 or 5 months in front of your property. It just means 4 or 5 months for the whole entire area. Um, they are required to maintain vehicle access to businesses and emergency vehicles at all times. All of the construction is done by private companies. We bid them out. They're all licensed and bonded, but it does go to the lowest bidder. A lot of road work is weather dependent, and rain will delay the work. And if we get a lot of rain, they may wait a day to let things dry out before they get back on site. Contractors work 5 to 6 days a week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the city of St. Paul will have an on-site inspector to inspect the contractor's work. There's two types of road closed signs that you will see out there once construction begins. A road closed to through traffic means you can go around those signs, but you're not going to get through to the end of that street. It'll maybe be to mid-block. And then there's the road closed signs. Those mean do not enter, like it's not safe. There's probably a big 20-foot deep hole beyond that road closed sign. So you can go around these, but not these. You will receive, well, multiple letters from me, during the design process, and then you'll get a letter prior to the start of construction. And on that, it's nice to keep that one because there'll be the names of our inspectors who are your first call, and then the contractors and other contact information that is handy to have. They will flyer the neighborhood a week before construction starts on your particular block. They do hang those flyers on the front door. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the assigned project inspector would be your first call because he's the one that's on site and knows schedule to the minute. And then, of course, we will have weekly updates posted on the city's website. See, and here's just some milestones of the construction project. You'll see the first thing you'll see is, of course, is those deep holes for the utility cuts. And then, but once you see grading happening, next thing will be curb. And there are a few steps between curb and paving, namely sidewalks and driveways, street lighting, foundations, but just to give you an idea of the process. And then, of course, what is it going to cost? Assessment rates have not been determined yet. There will be an independent appraiser that will be coming out looking at properties. There is a separate assessment video that I invite you to watch to explain more about assessments. And then, of course, you can view more information at stpaul.gov/assessments. And then here are a couple of contact information. Again, I'm Barb Mundell. You can reach me at 651-266-6112. And then if you have questions about other aspects of the project, here are the general lines. And thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.